X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting, suspenseful, sinister episode of Battle of the Atom. This is, of course, the only X-Men podcast where you can go and just hear about some stories chosen, I don't want to say at random, but not in any particular chronological or thematic order, and figure out where they go on the big old definitive forever list of best X-Men stories of all time. I'm Zach Jenkins, and I could not do this without my co-host, Adam Reck. Adam, how we doing today?
I am doing great. I am really excited about these stories that we're going to talk about today. They were really fun.
This is some fun stuff. This actually gets down to the earliest days of my fandom, which is really exciting. And we'll get into that when we talk about the story that Patreon supporter Andrew Robertson put out there for us. So, yeah, first off, thank you. Just like apparently every episode we're ever going to do now for the rest of time.
We're getting a lot of requests.
We are. I actually laid it out this morning, and we are booked between a few exciting interviews that are going to be coming up and Patreon requests until May. We are straight until June.
What?
Until June. We're through all of May. We've got some crazy stuff on the docket, too, that I'm not going to spoil just yet, but I'm pumped for some of the stories we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, there's going to be some fun ones.
So number one, Andrew, he gave us this suggestion. He said, you know what, guys? I'd really like you to talk about Uncanny X-Men Volume 2, number 14 through 17, which is an AVX tie-in. Now, we don't have any AVX on this list, do we, Adam?
No, not yet. I don't think we have any Avengers versus X-Men, which is fine.
That's the number one description of Avengers versus X-Men. It's fine. But
I like Avengers versus X-Men, but we're not ranking that today.
It's as bad as people want to make it out to be. I think it might be a little small.
Yeah, there's a lot of really fun stuff in there.
It's fine.
Phoenix 5 is fun.
And we get a lot of them because this story is about Mr. Sinister fighting the Phoenix 5 in his underground London that he built under Alaska.
Oh my God. How cool is that?
This was written by Kieran Gillen with art by, there's 3 different artists across these 4 issues, and they're all...
Yes. But the one standout is Daniel Acuna is back on these issues. We've been hitting him a couple times in the course of the podcast. Always great to see him working.
Yeah, we got Acuna on 15, 16, and part of 17. We got Dustin Weaver on 14, who you may know from S.H.I.E.L.D. and some other cool stuff. And we have a very early appearance of Mike Del Mundo.
Yeah.
He's actually credited as Michael Del Mundo on this, which is really fun.
Very
so he's
formal.
still kind of grown into it stuff. But even on the cover of 17, you can see the hints of where he's going to become the all-star artist that he is today.
He's a great cover artist. I mean, and it's always fun to see him do interiors too. He's got a great cartoony kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
But this is a really fun story. I hadn't read this before, and I had to go back and read the first arc of this volume of Uncanny just to get an idea, because I was expecting this to be, I'd always seen the images of Sinister taking over San Francisco.
Right, when everything's Sinister.
Yeah, so I had to go back and read that first, which we're not ranking today, but I'm glad I did. Got a sense of what was going on in this arc, and it is really fun.
Yeah, so Sinister, Kieran Gillen's take on him was, Sinister's always cared about evolution and perfection and all this stuff, and he kind of just decided, well, I'm perfect. Why can't everyone just be me?
Yeah.
So he does it.
Yeah.
He makes everything and everyone him. This is the Phoenix 5 powered X-Men against an army of Sinister clones.
Yeah.
And clones of just everything else.
And it's not even just people. Like when we saw the Uncanny 1 through 3 arc, it was just every single person in that area was Sinister. Now it's like everything. And there's some really fun. Oh, I didn't want to get to that yet, but yes.
The Krakoa.
Yeah.
The Gambits.
Oh man, the cannonballs. What? What crazy fun stuff is here. Now, did you say that this has like a special place in your heart for
it is the whole second volume of Uncanny X-Men really is an important touchstone for my fandom. I actually, back in, when did this come out? 2012. So back in 2011, I heard that Uncanny X-Men was ending and getting a new number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I've always wanted to read like X-Men for seriously. I will do that. So I got a mail order subscription from Marvel.
Nice.
The quality of that, questionable to say the least. I believe they actually have Midtown doing it nowadays, and it's better. Yeah, because I've never had problems with Midtown. But yeah, I got this. I went into it with no knowledge of what was happening. I knew that all I knew is there was some sort of schism, and I could choose either between Uncanny X-Men or Wolverine and the X-Men, and I looked at the teams, and Uncanny X-Men had Storm and Cyclops and Magneto on it, and Colossus, and I said, "Oh yes, this is the book for me."
That's so funny because I went the opposite way. I went with Wolverine and the X-Men, and I kind of ignored this completely, but now I'm regretting that.
That's very interesting to see us literally fall on the exact opposite sides of the schism.
Yeah.
That's good.
Pure accident.
That's good.
Pure accident. But
we see. We'll see.
I don't know. But this is great fun, man.
Yeah. So the first issue in this, issue 14, is about a Sinister. He is a clone of Sinister, and he doesn't like Sinister's underground London order. He doesn't like that Sinister's in charge of everything. Mm-hmm. He doesn't enjoy any of that. So he decides to plan a coup against Sinister. So the problem is that Sinister is him and he is Sinister, and they are all Sinister. So Sinister knows that Sinister is trying to plan a coup against Sinister, and then Sinister kills Sinister and talks about how this Sinister was just a tool that he uses to make sure that his defenses are up to date and that he can handle any coup from any Sinister.
Oh my goodness. The layers. And I love that Gillen just drops us into this world. Like we haven't seen Sinister, since the first arc of this series. Mm-hmm. So, we just get dropped into this Victorian mock-up, and it's so weird and so much fun. It's really great.
It's exciting, and what I love is what ends up happening is the Phoenix 5, so that's Cyclops, Emma Frost, Namor, Colossus, and Magic, go and say, you know what, Sinister's going to be a problem. Let's go take him out. Mm-hmm. So they go to try and take him out, and then Sinister throws waves after waves after waves of the weirdest things at them.
He's got mashed up marauders. He's got we talked about some of the other stuff that but I don't think we mentioned the Madeline Pryor hive mind that he's kind of set up, which is really fun.
Yes,
really fun.
He made Stepford Cuckoos out of Madeline Pryor.
Yeah, it's a good equivalent. And somehow they have to work their way out of it with a little help from a B team.
It's a good B team.
Wow.
That B team is Magneto, Danger, Storm, and Psylocke, who keeps reminding everyone that yes, she can do this. She's a bloody ninja.
Yeah. But the art is beautiful. The world building here, even though it's just this small arc, is really fantastic. From that first issue, you get a real. It's a nice device with the journalist to get a tour of the entire place, mm-hmm. and then you get to watch it burn to the ground through this battle, which is essentially why it exists. Sinister's set it up so that he can try and take them out as best he can, and he fails, but it's a lot of fun to watch.
This is So this is interesting because it's titled as an AVX tie-in, but what that really means is because AVX was 12 issues long.
Right.
It was just like, hey guys, the Phoenix Five are going to be in this. Just roll with it. And I know I have read interviews with Gillen before. He knew when he started his run, it was going to be he gets an arc, and then it's Fear Itself, and then it's going to be Fear Itself, and then Schism's going to hit right there. So he gets another arc or so, and then it's going to be arc or two, and then it's going to be Avengers versus X-Men, and then he gets a little bit to play with that, and then it's going to be over. Like he knew going in that he only had so many stories to do. He had a finite run that was going to happen, and he did a lot with it. Like he has a very strong Sinister plot going through all of this, and I absolutely love it. It's not the best run of X-Men, even in the last, 10
a little bit of
years.
event fatigue, what you're describing there, trying to arc in and out of these things is tricky. And I think that he handles it, better than with Wolverine and the X-Men with AVX. Those tie-ins are not nearly as strong. Yeah. I mean, the strongest one of those is the Kid Gladiator episode. I'm thinking of Infinity.
Yeah, that's Infinity.
I'm sorry. But I don't remember the AVX stuff coming out of that side of the book really being as fun.
No, it wasn't. Well, because what I like about this is this arc, it would need to be reworked a little bit, but this could just be an arc without any of the Phoenix 5 stuff. Like,
yeah. Sure could.
Sinister, you switch some motivations, you switch some of the mechanics of everything, but the basic overall plot works. And I like that.
Yeah, and I like that even though they're the Phoenix 5, Sinister is still a pretty good opponent for them. He actually has a chance of taking them out and taking advantage of even though they're so super powered at that point. It doesn't mean that they immediately can just stop him. And come on, guys, there's kamikaze cows in this that are attacking them. It's really fun. It's very inventive, and I like it a lot. So maybe we should take a shot at ranking it.
We should probably take a shot at ranking it. So here's the thing about this. His castle is Krakoa. It's a clone of Krakoa, which is kind of great. So do you like this better or worse than, let's say, Giant Size X-Men #1?
I like it better. I think it's really fun. It's really fun
too.
We didn't even mention that all of this is running on celestial energy.
From the first arc.
These clones because of the first arc. So, there's layers here that are really fun. Akuna is also on Avenge the Earth, so
this is not as good as Avenge the Earth. I'd say that.
Avenge the Earth is do we like this better than Magic and Lord of the Vampires?
I think it's oddly comparable to Lord of the Vampires. Like,
yeah, it's got that kind of fun sensibility to it of like, wait, what did I just see? So maybe Magic is our sort of stopping point there.
Yeah, it's
for how high
it's not better than Magic. I think Magic, by the sheer weight of what that story is and what that story does, it's better than it. But like, I like it better than the first arc of X Factor Investigations. Where I'm coming to is X Factor 87 Examinations, which I know I'm not as hot on as a lot of people are. Don't write at me. I don't care. I've made my peace with it. But I think it's either better or worse than that. I think it's right there.
Okay. I like this better than the first arc of X-Men 92.
Ooh.
So
let's split the difference then. Because I think I like 92 better.
Okay. I'm willing to compromise. So in between X-Men 92 and X Factor 87.
Yes, that would make this the new number 21. Nope, I didn't carry over the numbers from last week.
Uh-oh.
Luckily, nothing last week was very good. So it is number 22. Our next story on this list is this goes a bit deeper. This is still Sinister. This is still London, but this is in the before times. This is The Further Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, written by Peter Milligan, with
Nice.
art by the fabulous Jean-Paul Leon. I don't know about you. I love Jean-Paul Leon. He's like, you don't see a ton of his stuff in the X world, but every time he pops up, it's a delight. I love his work.
Oh, I absolutely love this. I think the artwork is stunning. It's beautiful.
It's moody. It's like Hellboy, but grittier.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Hellboy because there is a certain visual similarity to Mignola's style. And this really made me think of there's a really fun hardcover that Howard Chaykin did with Mike Mignola called Iron Wolf, which is a steampunk vampire adventure, a standalone continuation of an older storyline that Chaykin used to work on. And this reminds me a great deal of that because even though this isn't steampunk, it has elements of that because we're going back to Victorian England. It's 1859, and this is essentially an excuse to just tell Mr. Sinister's origin story, which had been hinted at in previous books. But what a cool way to go about it is, to use the device of the first adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, do a random time travel drop, and then use it to tell this story, which is a real fun Jekyll and Hyde type thing, which has the most amazing Egyptian themed apocalypse design in it. It's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. My boy Insaba Noor, he is, he doesn't look like a celestial Kirby guy. He looks like he would be like he could be an Egyptian pharaoh, only like the Marvel Universe mutant version of that, which is really
he's kind of like it's a King Tut transformer almost.
Yes.
Yeah. He's got a great look to him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, I mean, he has this really great look. And even when Sinister transforms, he almost has sort of a robotic kind of look to him at first. It's really, really fun to see. It's De Leon. How do you say the last name there?
It's not De Leon. It's Jean-Paul Leon.
No.
It might be Jean-Paul Leon, just like a guy named Leon. But look, I see Jean-Paul. Like, I see Jean-Paul right next to each other. I assume there's a bit of a French in that.
It's possible.
I don't know if he is French. He's from Florida. He's from Miami.
There you go.
No.
Cool.
Jean-Paul Leon, I guess. Anyway, he's gorgeous. He actually, this is a tangent, and eventually this will be covered on the podcast. But in the Morrison era, he did a one shot for burn victims. Like, it was distributed at children's hospitals for like burn victims and all this stuff.
Really?
It is.
Oh, I don't know.
It's called Uncanny X-Men in Life Lessons. And I actually like Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men, which is a fabulous X-Men podcast that if you are listening to us and you haven't at least given them a try, I don't know what's up with you. They did recently an episode all about like PSA and comics made for a certain purpose. And I got really excited because they covered like the Uncanny X-Men go to the Texas State Fair and the X-Men blockbuster issue and all this stuff. And I was really hoping they would talk about the this Life Lessons one, not because it's like weird, it's good. It's like a really kind of moving and well done comic. And Jean-Paul Leon's art.
You're making me excited to read it.
Like I picked it up because I've never heard about this. This is a weird Morrison era one shot for charity. Yeah, I'm gonna pick that up. It's really good. Like, yeah. Anyway, that's not this book though.
Well, Peter Milligan is doing a great job here. I mean, this also reminds me a little bit. I know when we started talking about Wolverine, we started talking about him kind of being like a Batman-esque, put him in any kind of story and it works character. But this is a really good example of X-Men being able to go over into different kinds of genres and still work really, really well. This is a very fun. I'm hesitant to use steampunk because I know it's not quite that
Victorian sci-fi.
That genre.
It's Victorian sci-fi.
Right.
Put it in whatever bucket you want. They don't have like goggles everywhere and gears on everything, but it has the same aesthetic.
But it's Yeah, and it's really, really fun. The characterization of Sinister is done so well. You actually feel his downfall. It's not like it's super melodramatic. I mean, it's melodramatic in that we're dealing with these very, very big Faustian terms here, but you know, it makes sense. It makes sense with having Charles Darwin be put in
I
this
do
story.
love that Charles Darwin's like, look, Nathaniel Essex,
multiple cameos.
You need to slow your roll, dude. I've said some stuff that has incited a lot of interest and anger from certain folks. So believe me when I'm saying you might be going too far.
Yeah. But I also this comes out in what, 96, I think?
Yes.
I think this is a really good opportunity in just regular X-Men continuity to go back to the beginning. There's been so much hinted at over the years about these two characters, what their relationship is, and what we can see what they're doing in current continuity. This is a great opportunity for them to really put a start on that and define where this all begins. And it's done really, really well.
I think the Sinister stuff in this is great. I think the Apocalypse stuff in this is great. I couldn't care less that Cyclops and Phoenix are here.
Yeah, I mean, they're there to basically talk to the Ascani lady for some reason and set up the little. I mean, the end of this book is that the great grandfather, I think I've got that right, of Scott Summers is rescued and saved. So Scott kind of saves his own family timeline.
And then that guy, because he goes over to America at the end, he immigrates. He chooses a new last name like immigrants often did, and he chooses the name of the man who rescued him, Summers. So Scott Summers recursive looped name himself, which is very appropriate for that family.
Yeah, we get a little time paradox there. And, I was wondering, it hadn't even clicked in my mind, just me not reading as intelligently as I might have, why do they keep talking about this kid? This kid's not interesting. And then I got to the last page, I was like, oh, so stupid, Adam. I should have figured that out beforehand.
I only knew it because really I knew that piece of trivia. I knew that he named his own family.
I knew it going in.
But I think I like the Sinister stuff. I like the Apocalypse stuff. I think this is solid. I don't know if it's the most essential. We get something similar for Apocalypse around the same time, where they go back to Apocalypse in Egypt. And I'm blanking on the name of that miniseries, but this is better than that.
Oh yeah. This kind of has an Elseworlds quality to it, It's still part of the chronology, but it does depart from the usual genre that we're used to for X-Men. I think it does it really, really well.
It makes good use of being a mini series, of saying, hey, we've only got 4 issues. Let's do something cool with it.
Oh, and there's a lot of stuff packed into this, This will take you a couple minutes to read. It's not one of these 90s books that has just a couple of words of dialogue and a lot of action fight scenes. It's a book, and it has a lot of substance to it. So where do we want to put this?
Let's see. I'm looking on the list right now. I think it's better than Ultimate X-Men Volume 1, The Tomorrow People. I don't think I like it more than the Sinister AVX story that we just talked about.
Okay.
That's where I'm at, but I'd love to hear your take on this.
I really like the art. I think this is a very unique story. I agree. You can probably get a general sense of, who these characters are without necessarily reading this miniseries. But if you're a Sinister fan, and I just want to go on record as being a Sinister fan, I think that I love the idea that almost any X-Men story could potentially have a Mr. Sinister lurking in the shadows, drumming his fingers together, muhahaing, because I just think that's a really fun, integral part of what X-Men are all about. So I think that's a good place on the list to look. I'm looking sort of around the Messiah War, X-Force Assault on Greymalkin area.
I think
Because I think this is better than Executioner's song.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. And I'm, so I'm kind of torn maybe about putting this above X-Men and Alpha Flight.
Here's the thing. Executioner's song is there because you really like it.
It is really fun. It's really fun.
So if you're willing to go above that, I'm all for that.
Absolutely. But I don't know that it needs to go much higher than that, like it's a standalone story that, it probably tells you what you already knew in a really fun way.
I'd rather reread Daddy Cable. I really would. Okay. I do love Daddy Cable though. And I would rather read, I think I'd rather revisit X-Men and Alpha Flight because I consider that a real classic. So I think that might be a good spot for it. Number 28 on our list. Sinister is having a very respectable showing. Like,
he is awesome.
In case people don't know, we have 71 stories on our list right now. So 2 stories, in the top 30, top half, that's doing good, especially on a top heavy list like this. Turns out people like just talking about stories they like.
Now, this next one, though, Zach, I don't know if it's going to fare as well. I don't know how you feel about this one.
Okay. So I picked this. I picked this one because we were doing Sinister stories, and I was trying to think, okay, well, the first 2 are like Victorian Sinister, which is the Sinister I prefer. Like, I'm going to go on record. Vampire Cape Sinister, Victorian Sinister, I'm all about. Yeah. So I was trying to think of weird Sinisters, and then something came to my memory. So Ultimate X-Men is a book. It's a book.
It sure is.
It's a book where I think like the first, I want to say 45-ish issues are solid, good story. The Miller and the Bendis runs are real good. And the stuff after Ultimatum that Nick Spencer and Brian Wood did, also very good. But then there's a middle chunk. And it's not.
And it's written by Brian K. Vaughan.
Wait, I'm sorry, Brian K. Vaughan. You mean the man who wrote Saga?
Yes.
The man who wrote Why the Last Man?
The man who wrote Private Eye?
The man who wrote Runaways?
What is going on? All right, we should get into what this is, because when I'm reading this, I had kind of blocked the magic moment of this story out of my mind, even though I had seen it before. Yes. And I'm reading this going, what is this nonsense? Because the version of Sinister in this story is so ridiculous.
Well, he's like
he's a
gangbanger.
Yeah, he's a gun-toting, tattooed mutant hunter with potential schizophrenia? Question mark.
He's like has a stutter, and he's really upset, except for that he believes in apocalypse, and he's doing all this to serve his Lord Apocalypse, and he has to kill 10 mutants, 10 young mutants.
There's a magic number there.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
the entire Apocalypse thing and Ultimate X-Men goes in a completely different direction, and then Sinister appears one more time, and then it gets dropped like a hot potato. It's a nothing to the whole thing. So, he kills a bunch of mutants. He tries to kill North Star. He does kill the ultimate version of Maggot. Rest in peace, buddy. More detail at Junya. He's just kind of dumb. And the rest of the X-Men are going through some stuff. Like Beast had just died. Ultimate Beast.
Right.
So, and him and Storm were dating, if you didn't pick that up. So then Storm gets into the ultimate version of Mohawk Storm, which is okay. It's fine.
Yeah, she's like, I'm going to dress 90s going to a concert kind of thing.
No,
I guess
that she dresses incredibly 2004. She is very 2004.
That's fair.
She's got a bit of a mesh.
This book feels very, like the fact that Sinister's supposed to be, like badass, and he has a tattoo of his name on his forearm. It's
not the worst tattoo that you could have on a pale supervillain. It's not like he got the word Sinister tattooed over his forehead or anything like that.
Yeah, but it's just weird. Like, he still has the doohickey in his forehead,
his red diamond.
He's wearing a beanie, and he's all tatted up, and he's walking around Punisher style, just like gunning people down. And it's weird. It's real weird.
Okay, can we get to the good part?
And then, of course, Yeah, let's lead to, I mean, the master plan of this character is to kind of draw the X-Men out of the mansion to go and try and find him so that he can invade the mansion. And it leads to, I think, why people know this arc, which is, I'll let you do the honors.
Okay, so Sinister gets Charles Xavier in his wheelchair, and he tells his plan to Xavier, and he's like, he says, I know what your greatest weakness is. Stairs! And he pushes him downstairs in a splash page. It's so perfect. It's an amazing page turn moment of comics.
It is ridiculous and so funny.
And I'm curious. I was wondering why it was never done before, and it's
something.
Just the boldness to do that.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good. The rest of the story is kind of boring. Rogue beats Sinister, and there's talk about Punk Dazzler maybe killing him, but then it not happening. And this is the whole thing. It doesn't matter.
I gotta say, very not on board for that version of Dazzler either. Like, what is that? It's very
better in other places in this. Like, I get the appeal of doing punk rock Dazzler. I really do. It's something Bendis has done several times.
Well, I like that version is a little different than what's here, but yeah, there's not a lot here. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna get a real kick out of that particular scene, and then the rest of it, you're gonna be scratching your head. You know, there's a weird dynamic in Vaughn's writing here of almost, I don't know, there's a couple of moments that kind of feel a little homophobic. There's just, I don't know, there's a younger sensibility here. I think we encountered this when we read younger Hickman as well. You know, there's sort of like a younger, I don't know how old Vaughn is when he's writing this, but it has kind of like
he's old enough to
college
know better.
age person. I understand that, but you know, people learn as they get older about, you know, what's right and what's wrong. And I don't know if that informed how his writing process worked and what his characters say. But there's like some odd little moments sprinkled throughout here. And it's great to know that Brian K. Vaughan is an amazing creator who has given us some of the greatest stories in all of comics. This is not one of them.
Yep.
It's not even remotely close.
Yes. No, this is not among his best work. Go look up the Stairs line, because it's entertaining as hell. It's so good. And like artist Brandon Peterson, who we hadn't mentioned yet, and we have to, sells that so well. Like, this really does struggle, and this is where Ultimate X-Men starts to fall off. Like, there's still good stories after this, but there's a long thing of just bad writing. Brian K. Vaughan's on for, I think, 2 more arcs after this. And then Robert Kirkman gets on for a very long time. And if you like The Walking Dead, this isn't it. This isn't Invincible. This is something bad. But like, of X-Men, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 X-Men on this team, not counting Professor X. Like, it got too big, and no one knew what to do with it, and it falls apart. It really does. Yeah. Sinister's horrible in this. It's
just not Sinister. I mean, it doesn't have any of the hallmarks. I appreciate, you know, the idea of taking on a new approach to the character, but this just comes across from beginning to end as just too silly. You know, and X-Men can be very silly. Mr. Sinister at his core is very silly. This is still way too silly to be taken seriously.
Is it sillier than Astonishing Tales Mojo World?
Well, I liked that a whole bunch more. I mean, that was really funny. And
I did too.
I like just the general premise of that. I would go much lower with this.
I don't think it's better than, or I don't think it's worse than. Ooh, wait, hold on. I was gonna say Deadly Genesis, but then I saw No More Humans is right below that, and I think I like No More Humans better.
Okay, yeah.
I think this is a story, so it's better than Heroes for Hope. which
Okay.
is our number 65
All right.
on this list.
Yeah, I like. I think it probably has about as much substance as that long shot story from X-Men Volume 2. But I also like the art much better in New Mutant Summer Special, which we agree is not a coherent story.
It's
So
really
I think
not.
that might be a good realm for it.
I think you're exactly right. The fact that Jim Lee art is still Jim Lee art puts that long shot story from X-Men Volume 2 above it.
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to be honest. That New Mutants Summer Special has a lot of fun little moments. I do think Stairs is
It's the edge.
Stairs is
well, then that's the decider.
perfect.
Stairs gives it the edge.
It's the one
so
thing.
that's where it goes.
It's the one thing. This is the new number 64 on our list. Ultimate X-Men, the Tempest. Tempest is a different thing. Anyway, that's all the things that we have for this episode. If you enjoyed what we talked about, all the sinister, spooky stories that we spooked into your eardrums, you can mosey on over to XavierFiles.com. That's where we post all these episodes. We also have weekly discussions about different X-Men characters. This week was Gladiator of the Shi'ar Imperial Guard. And can I tell you something, Adam?
Yeah.
When we get that freaking Dave Cockrum Phoenix story with the Emkron crystal, that's going to go way higher than I thought it would. It's delightful.
It's very good.
Everything about the Imperial Guard is great. You know that Gladiator's name is Kalark, and do you know why it's Kalark?
I did not know that. No, why?
Because Gladiator, like all the Imperial Guard, are just ripoffs of the Legion of Superheroes.
Oh, right.
And
yeah.
he is,
they're parodies.
Well, I don't think parody is the right word. I think Dave Cockrum really wanted to draw Legion of Superheroes. Is the right word. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But
it's an homage.
He is an homage to Superboy, whose name is Kal-El or Clark Kent.
Nice.
So,
There you go.
of course, Gladiator is Kal-Lark.
I like that. That's great.
It's kind of
I never knew that.
Yeah, I just put that.
Guys, this is the kind of content you tune into the podcast for,
this is
right?
yes,
you're learning
the etymology of obscure Bronze Age Mohawk Superman.
I love it.
Yes,
I love it.
You can also you can find that there. You can find me on Twitter at Xavier Files. Now, the one thing, and I normally say this before I go into my plugs, but if you liked this episode and you want to support the podcast like Andrew did, you can go over to patreon.com/XavierFiles. And at the $2 a month level, you can get an entire episode bespoke created based around one of your suggestions. We've had a lot of really good pitches recently, and they're turning into really fun episodes. Like...
Yes, indeed.
It's good. If you want to see how we connect the dots between Gangster Sinister and that time that Krakoa was a castle, this is what we do here.
This is your opportunity.
Yeah,
I love it.
If you can't support the show monetarily, I get it. I don't support every podcast I listen to, even some of them I really like. End of the day, I just don't. Maybe I'm a bad person. Who knows? But no, it's fine. If you do want to leave us like a rating or a review or something on iTunes or your podcast device of your choice, that really does help. Like that's a little thing you can do to make a lot of people's day better. And by a lot of people, I mean me and Adam.
Thank you for doing that. We appreciate it.
We do. Now, Adam, where can people find you online?
All right, guys, you can always follow me on Twitter at Arthur Stacy, and I've got new pages of the Search for Bish and Jubes every Monday at adamrec.tumblr.com. Got some fun little reveals coming up in the next couple of weeks, so hope you guys are reading those. They're fun.
They are fun. The stuff that went up the last that we're recording this is straight fire. It's my favorite. It's this silly Bishop gag, and it's perfect.
That's what I live for.
I'm glad that you live for me saying you make a good webcomic, Adam.
Well, thank you, Zach.
Well, next time that we're on the show, we are digging into the event that defined the 90s of all time. I, of course, mean Phalanx Covenant. We're just doing all of it. So if you want to read along, just read all of Phalanx Covenant. Till then. And I guess forever? It's not just till then. It's an ongoing thing that we are Battle of the Atom, and we hope you survived the experience.
Get it!